Hi guys, I'm Gasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times. Today I'm here to make a quick video with some quick recommendations for the month of Halloween for October. So this year I thought instead of telling you my favorite Halloween movies to watch during the month of October, because I've already talked about those so much in the past and I don't want to repeat myself, I thought I would just put together a small list of some books and movies that would be perfect for the month of October, and these are all books that have been adapted. So I thought either you've read the book, maybe you have not checked out the movie, or maybe you've checked out the movie but you didn't know there was a book about it. So I don't know, I just thought this would be a cool video, like quick recommendations, books and movies for the Halloween month.
It's coffee time.
I thought to make it a little bit more fun, I'm going to give you some recommendations of books and movies for the whole family, and then we're going to do some recommendations, like a couple from the 60s, a couple from the 70s, you get the drill. So there is a little bit of everything in the mix. The Worst Witch by Jill Murphy is a series of children's books. There's a total, I believe, of 8 books in this series, and these ones are all about that, about a witch school and, you know, the girls that attend there. And it is a really kind of fantasy, magical kind of scenario as well. So it is spooky, but it's mostly kind of fantasy, I would say, and perfect if you love stories about witches. Mildred is a trainee in this school for witches, and she's not the best when it comes to magic. She has many problems. She messes up all of the potions and all of these things, and she's also not really able to use the broom, so that's where kind of also a little bit of comedy part comes into it. And this book has been adapted into a TV show. So there's a TV show from the 90s that you might want to check out. It is a British Canadian TV show, and it follows Mildred in this witch school, so it's kind of faithful when it comes to that to the books. So I thought this would be great, especially if you have kids that love witches, or if you are, you know, a witch lover and you have not checked this out yet and would like to read a little bit more of children's and middle grade books. Now let's talk about Casper. I've always loved this character since I watched the movie when it came out, and this is based actually in a character that was featured in comics in the 40s and 50s, and it kind of evolved into this movie. And the movie I rewatched recently because I purchased the Blu-ray for better quality, and it still holds for me. I still absolutely love it, and it has a lot of heart. And in 2018 we got kind of like a compiled edition of some of Casper's stories, so I thought it would be perfect if you're looking for a book with some of the stories from Your Friendly Ghost. If you are unfamiliar with the story, there is these 3 guys that are trying to find a treasure in this mansion, and when they get there they realize that there are ghosts inside, so they call kind of like a specialist in the paranormal and goes to go and spook the ghosts out for him. And this guy comes into the house with his daughter, and she's the one that can see the ghosts and kind of has this friendship with Casper. I think everybody knows the story, but if you're curious to know how the original kind of comics and stories were, you might want to check those out. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. And who doesn't know this classic story? Just recently Christina Henry released a take on the story called Horseman, and you know, the original book had this school teacher that was a scary cat, and he was scared about all of these kind of ghost stories that were being told in the town, and he didn't really believe that they were true until one day he found himself in the woods and he seemed to see these headless horsemen. And you know, I've always loved as well the movie by Tim Burton. I thought it was the perfect family comedy, spooky, and I absolutely love Christopher Walken. I think he's fantastic, he's amazing, love him so much, and I love him in this movie a lot. So if you have checked the movie, maybe you haven't read the book, or the other way around, I think this is really perfect for Halloween. The Witches by Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl is an author that I've always loved because His stories are so dark and twisted, and this is a book about witches, but not your typical cauldron and broom witches. No, no, no. These are real witches, really spooky. They look really intense, and you know, it is a great book for children, but also the movie. The movie from the 90s is amazing. I really am a little bit hesitant about watching the new adaptation because the movie from the 90s was just spot on. We follow this kid that lives with his grandma, and they go like to have a trip, stay at a hotel by the sea, and in this hotel he ends up stumbling upon a reunion, let's say, of women, and he ends up discovering that those women are actually witches that are hiding and looking for children that they can eat. I absolutely love what they did in this movie when it comes to the makeup and the effects and all of that. And I also recently rewatched this one, I think like 2 Halloweens ago, and it still holds up for me as well. So if you've never given it a go, I really recommend you to check it out this Halloween. Let's go to the 60s. We have Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. This is a classic, and it is about a couple that settle in a city apartment in New York, and their neighbors seem to be a little bit obsessed. They seem to be a little bit too intense with them. Something is off, and will they be able to, you know, recognize what's coming before it's too late? When it comes to the movie, you cannot talk about this movie without commenting how good Mia Farrow's performance was in this film, and I think that this is such a great classic. It kind of follows the same story from the book, and it is a movie that I've had in my collection for a really long time, and I've always really loved it with the green cover. So if you've never checked out the film, or if you've never read the book, I definitely recommend you to check it out. Willard by Stephen Gilbert, and this one has always been one of those that I've always loved because it's kind of like a revenge story, and I love revenge stories. Plus it features really cute, you know, rodents. So basically Willard lives with his mom, and they have a rat infestation, and he's supposed to get rid of the rats, basically kill them, but he cannot find the heart to do that, so he decides to become friends with the rats instead. Which I absolutely love. And then he kind of uses the rats to seek revenge on people that have been making his life miserable, and I've always loved that. I absolutely love revenge stories. There's something so satisfying about them. There was already a movie adaptation for this one in 1971, but the one that I remember watching is the one from 2003. While I was working at a video store, this movie came out and I watched it, and I absolutely loved it. Some people might not enjoy this movie. I think this is a very unpopular opinion of mine, but you know, I still recommend you guys to give it at least a shot. We're moving to the 70s, and I know that, you know, I'm gonna be talking about this book a lot on my channel now, but I think I will be doing it a disservice if I wouldn't mention here The Exorcist, because this movie had such an impact in general on the audience, on everybody when it came out, and it scared so many people. And the book was as good, if not better, than the movie. So I feel like if you have not given a chance to the book yet, like I was kind of holding back from it, please give it a read. It is so beautifully written, it is fast-paced, the horror is intense, it is kind of emotional, and it's just such a great story. And the movie, if you've never watched it, I still think that it holds up today. I personally just love the characters so much of this movie. I know that for Linda Blair, this movie kind of made her and broke her at the same time. And I don't know, there's something about this movie so special that cannot be done again. It is so hard nowadays to do a really good possession movie, and this is by far one of the best ever made. I'm pretty sure you all know what this book is about. So we just follow Regan. She is a teen that starts to behave really weirdly, and her mom asks for help, and she ends up getting the help of 2 priests that are going to try to perform an exorcism because Regan is possessed by a demon. The other 70s book is, of course, Flowers in the Attic by V.C. Andrews, because this story is really messed up. When I read the book, I did not expect this story to get as dark and twisted and disturbing as it got. But we basically follow this woman and her children, and when the father passes away, she has no money, so she has to go back to live to her parents. Now, her parents were never happy about her marrying her husband, and so she has a really strange relationship with them, and she starts to treat her children differently when they move there. That's all I'm going to tell you, but definitely recommend you to pick it up unless you cannot really read much horror stories that includes kids. Maybe then not. This book was already adapted in the 80s, but the adaptation that I would like to recommend you is the one from 2014 because the cast is pretty strong and the visuals are just so good. So if you have not checked it out yet, maybe give it a go. But like I said, it does involve children and some weird disturbing stuff happening. That's all I'm gonna say. But I know that some people don't really like to read horror that involves children or kids, so just putting it out there. But as always, I'm gonna try my best to put some trigger warnings in the description box down below. We're moving to the 80s, and I thought I would mention here, of course, one of Stephen King's books, and this is a perfect book to start getting introduced to Stephen King, and that is The Mist. It's also one of those great stories that it's not one of his super chunky books, and it is about this town where one day they wake up and there is all this mist covering the streets. They cannot see anything that it's not like really in front of them, and there seems to be something in the mist kind of killing people, turning people aggressive. So we have this town of people trying to figure out what's inside of this mist, trying to get somewhere that is safe because on the outside everything is, covered by this mist, and they're worried, provisions are gonna run low, all of these things. So it's kind of like an apocalyptic story. And the movie, I thought it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. Then they announced a TV show and I was so excited about it because why not? And the problem with it was the visuals were great, the actors were pretty good, but the story, the way it was told, the way it was kind of put together, it just didn't work, so it really flopped. I still recommend you to give it a watch if you really love the story of The Mist. I mean, for a one-time watch it's okay, but it was really disappointing for me. The Woman in Black by Susan Hill, that has a really kind of English atmospheric setting in an isolated mansion, and we follow a young solicitor as he goes to the funeral of an old woman and kind of to settle her things with the house and her paperwork, but when he gets to the house, a lot of creepy things start to happen. Now, this is a really atmospheric story, and I have to say that when it comes to the movie adaptations, there's been part 1 and part 2. The first one with Daniel Radcliffe, I've really enjoyed. I thought the visuals were great. Of course, it had some tropes of these type of, subgenre of horror, but I thought it was really well adapted. Now, The Woman in Black part 2, didn't enjoy it that much, but I will still recommend you guys to give the novel a try. And if you still have not watched the movie adaptation, it's another one, spooky, creepy, perfect for Halloween. The 90s, we have American Psycho by Brent Easton Ellis, and of course we follow Patrick Bateman. He works in Wall Street, he's young, he's successful, he's attractive, but he's also a psychopath. And this book is a book that I have actually not read myself, but I'm a huge fan of the movie. I went to the cinema when it came out in 2000 to watch it, and I was not ready for what I was going to see. I didn't know anything about it. And the movie is really good. It's really intense. It gets really violent, but it has also such an amazing cast. And this is a case where I love the movie so much, I'm a little bit scared to go into the book. So if you read the book, please let me know down below how it is. The Ring by Koji Suzuki. And we have here a story that we are most familiar with, and that is the story of this mysterious videotape that if you watch it, you know you're going to die in 7 days. Now, this story follows a journalist that comes across the story of the tape, and she's determined to find the origin of the tape and who the people are that are shown in this tape, what's their story. For me, when it comes to The Ring, I have a very unpopular opinion, I guess, because I know a lot of people love the US remake because that's the first one that they ever saw. But for me, the first adaptation that I saw was the Japanese one, Ringu, and I am a huge lover and defender of that first movie. The way that the Asian movies bring the creepiness and the atmosphere into their movies, for me, cannot be topped. But I also really enjoyed the US remake of the movie, so it's not like I hated it or anything like that. It's just that the Japanese one has a more special place in my heart because I watched it also without knowing anything at all about the story. So imagine me as a teenager going to watch this movie knowing nothing about it, and it was in my university, and it was a dark room. It was only like 4 people there with me, and it was quite terrifying. When it comes to the 2000s, there is a book that I recently discovered, and prior to reading the book, I was a huge fan of the original movie, and that is Let the Right One In. This book is perfect for winter. It's such an amazing, different take on your classic vampire story. And it also has a lot of heart. It does deal with heavy topics like bullying, and we follow Oscar, who is really struggling in life when he meets this mysterious girl called Ellie, and they have this really weird friendship. Now, you know from the beginning that something is off with Ellie, and we will soon discover that she is a vampire. And the book has so much depth, and there is so many things that happen in the book. The original movie adaptation, the Swedish one, was so good. It is such a faithful adaptation to the book. I have a video comparing the book, the adaptation, and the remake. I'll link it for you guys. But this is just perfect for winter. If you have never seen the Swedish movie, the American remake was okay, but for me it didn't have the atmosphere and it was not as raw as the original was. So please watch the original if you have not checked it out yet. And if you have not read the book, if you're scared because it's a chunky book, fear not. It is very fast-paced and it's so engaging, and it's definitely such a nice, intense story for winter with a lot of heart. The other one that I would like to recommend you could be a little bit more of a summer movie, but it is one that I feel like the book and the movie both are pretty good and solid horror, and that is The Ruins by Scott Smith. We follow a group of friends in the Mexican jungle. They're just there, you know, to do some tourism, to have party, to drink alcohol, and one of them disappears. And when they go looking for them, they enter the jungle and they will make some really gruesome discoveries. If you've never read the book or watched the movie, I just don't want to spoil you the fun. But the movie is pretty much that. It's just a group of friends we love that trope, that go to Mexico for a trip just to have some fun. They end up getting lost looking for their friend, and they end up coming across something really dangerous, and the horrors will start for them. I feel both things, book and movie, are pretty strong, but if you've never read the book, I do encourage you in this case to read the book first. I feel like there's a lot of different types of horror subgenres, and for some of them, reading the book first might be better, because if you've already seen the movie, you kind of know what to expect from the book, and it might kind of take away that, you know, twist and turn kind of excitement that you get when something unexpected happens in the book. So yeah, anyway, this is a great one. I know it's not exactly wintry, but why not? All right, you guys, so these were some books and movies that are good choices for Halloween, for October. I hope that was something a little bit for everybody here in this video. I'm trying my best to incorporate more family, kids-friendly books and movies into my content, because I know not everybody is ready for the same level of horror, so I just hope that you guys have options here. Let me know down below if you're looking for something specific, or if you want any sort of recommendation. I'll try my best to help you out. If you're looking for something specific for Halloween, let me know, what will you be watching this Halloween? Is there any movie that you love to watch every year I have a very specific list, but since I always talk about those, I decided to go for something different today so I don't bore you guys with the same stuff over and over again. Thank you guys always for watching. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support, and I hope to see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye.